the K-Pop Cast, and today we're discussing everything related to the hot issue of K-pop idols at this year's 2025 Met Gala.
We also share hit replays from Enhypen, I-dle, and Toshinobu Kubota.
Before we get into those topics, don't forget to join the K-Pop Cast listener fam on Slack and help chip in for show costs. Links to those are going to be in the show description.
And now for our hit replay. Yeah, so you guys, long listeners might recognize a few voices from the intro, or if you're watching the video, might recognize a few faces. We finally have Teresa back in the virtual studio with us. Thank you, Teresa.
Woo! I'm excited to be here talking about two of my favorite things, K-pop and style, fashion.
Yeah, and we could not do this episode specifically about this Met Gala without Joe. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you for having me back.
Right, so let's just get into it, guys. So hit replays are, of course, our hit K-pop song recommendations for the week. So Teresa, since it's been a while, you're going to kick us off. What is your hit replay for this week?
Cool. I feel like I'm a pretty basic K-pop girly these days, and my hit replay right now is Enhypen's Loose. I'm not like an engine, I don't even know how to say it, like the fandom name. That's how you know, like, I'm very removed from the fandom. But yes, I'm a very casual Enhypen fan. But, you know, their title track releases, for me, just always, like, get me in a happy-go-lucky dancing mood. And Enhypen is Loose, and Enhypen's Loose just kind of has, like, an easygoing groove. You know, like right now, it's just really nice. Like, it's not trying to do too much. It's just like, also has like a hint of sexiness that's like a lot more mature. And that's kind of, I think, the thing that caught my attention because of the lyrics. Like, it's very, I know you want me kind of vibe. Like, let's get into it. And Enhypen has definitely had sexy moves for sure in their title track releases, but it's always been a lot more of like power for, you know, like really high intense choreo. And in Loose, it's very like, we're just, you know, it's just like the sexy vibes, and I like that. Reminds me that the boys are grown and growing.
Exactly.
It's a good groove. I really liked it, and it does definitely sound more grown than I'm used to hearing in Enhypen. So, yeah.
All right, then Joe, what is your hit replay for this week?
So my hit replay is a throwback from the early days of city pop. So we're going to fire up the DeLorean and ride to 1988 for Toshinobu Kubota's Dance If You Want It.
Throwback. I didn't know you were gonna throw it all the way back.
I had this is kind of where my mind's been. I've been like jumping between city pop and auntie jams. So this song fits perfectly into that. So Kubota debuted in 1986 with the album Shake It Paradise. He's also considered the grandfather of Japanese hip hop and soul. And also, going down the rabbit hole of his music, I unlocked a childhood memory. He debuted in the U.S. in 2004 as Toshi because Sony Music told him Americans probably wouldn't know how to say Toshinobu. And for his third English album, Time to Share, he promoted on Soul Train. And when I was watching the video, I was like, why does this cat look so familiar? And then I go back and I see that video from Soul Train. I was like, that's why I remember this guy. He's also, I think, the only Asian artist that has like a cookout line dance. That album has a lot of.
Hold on, what?
So like that.
Sorry, yes.
I'm sorry.
Joe.
So that the Time to Share album has a lot of neo soul steppin' type music, And a lot of
Gotcha.
times that music will have black folks will make line dances to them, and we'll do them at the family reunion, weddings, funerals, the typical black family get-togethers. And I think Toshinobu Kubota is the only Asian artist from Asia that has a line dance, so that was of note as well. So the reason that this is a hit replay, the intro to this song is everything. It's obviously a black couple arguing,
Right.
and they break up, and then all of a sudden there's like a beat of silence, and then Toshinobu comes in and says, "Well, give me a try." It's very much like, hey, black girl, you broke up with your boyfriend, I'm here. Also, the video itself I love because it's so 1988. It's very video soul with Donnie Simpson. This was the second single off of his second album called Such a Funky Thing, and the genre, it's called both electric funk and boogie, which is that post-disco, pre-New Jack Swing 80s soul R&B music that a lot of people call auntie jam. And that's why I like city pop so much, because like peak city pop in the late 80s, early 90s sounds just like this era. And so that's my hit replay.
I was going to say, like, you pull in something from 1988 suddenly made me feel just a wee bit younger, and I'm just grateful that you did that.
Honestly, I was looking for what I was going to pick, and I was coming up on empty because K-pop hasn't really given me anything lately. But
yes, that's a separate conversation, but I have felt the same way. So I appreciate a good throwback.
Yeah,
especially city pop vibes.
All right, Michaela.
Yeah, so I'm also gonna take it back, not as far back, but just back to 2018 with the new version.
I was gonna say, is it a throwback?
I mean, technically now this actually just came out. My hit replay is La Tata, the I-dle version. If you didn't know, I-dle, the artist formerly known as G-I-dle, they, as of May 1st, they have rebranded from G-I-dle to just I-dle, and this song is kind of the I guess maybe you could consider the title track of their special pre-release album. Kind of the pre-release to their upcoming comeback on May 19th, and it's special because it's all of the OT5 songs, meaning it's all of their original title tracks from 2018, re-recorded without the member Soojin who left, which has been a very contentious decision.
How do you feel about that? I feel like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I love this song, by the way. I feel like this is one of those tracks where it's like, it gets casual K-pop stans like up and out of their seats. Like, you don't have to be an I-dle stan to enjoy this. Like, I think it permeated the greater K-pop sphere. But yeah, I always feel weird about like re-recording like when members leave. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's because they took so long to do it. We've had other examples of like Stray Kids is a great example. After they had a member leave, they immediately did this where they released basically an album of re-recorded title tracks. And I think because they waited so long, and because the members themselves have been so vocal about how much they still support Soojin, it was just kind of felt at odds with what they've been saying, the fact that they completely cut her out. Yeah. And also on top of the whole rebrand, it really kind of like solidified that, okay, she's never going to be part of the group again, and maybe in spirit, but never in like what G-I-dle actually is.
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's like they didn't rip the Band-Aid right off in the beginning. So it's been like a very slow death to the illusion that there could be some sort of reunion or like regrouping.
They ripped the Band-Aid off last night or early this morning if you were on Twitter.
Oh, no. What happened?
The official I-dle account posted the asterisk that's not that's a part of the new logo. Specifically, it was the asterisk zoomed in with the chopped off, because there are several points, and one of the points on that is chopped off. I was like, okay, y'all really want us to know that Soojin is never coming back.
Yeah. I'm to be honest, I'm more interested in the fact of the rebrand. I know we talked a bit about on Slack about like removing the G kind of being this interesting, like maybe, you know, less conformative to gender norms, or maybe it's just a cube business thing. I'm kind of hoping it's just the gender norms thing. Like, I'm just going to pretend it's that and not capitalism, you know?
I'm still on the fence with re-recording, because I feel like K-pop puts out a new version, takes the versions with the old members down. Like, I think Dina said they took the old versions with Soojin off of streaming, off Spotify. I'm still on the fence. It's just like, there are things about the original La Ta Ta that I loved so much, and this kind of felt hollow. Yeah.
But let's just get right into our deep dive for this week, guys, because we've got a lot to cover. As we said at the top, we are talking about the 2025 Met Gala and everything really just K-pop related to it.
Wait a minute. Let me get my accessories out. Hold on.
Okay.
To go with everything.
Yes, of course.
Joe came prepared. Joe heard that we were going to talk about the Met Gala, and he was like, I'm here.
Right? Because so the Met Gala, for people that don't know, it's actually a charity event. The theme of this year was Tailored for You, and it is connected to specifically the Superfine Tailoring Black Style Spring 2025 exhibition at the Met, which was this really historic exhibition talking about specifically everything related to the styling of the Black diaspora and really honing in on Black dandyism specifically as like a period of fashion history. So with that in mind, it was really interesting to see what our K-pop idols were going to be dressed in this year, right? I know, Joe, you had your whole mini podcast about the, maybe letting, it's okay that the K-pop idols aren't necessarily showing out this year, right? With this theme specifically, right?
Yeah. After the YG leak Armageddon and all the allegations of racism.
Not the YG leak Armageddon. Stop.
That's what it was. I mean, what else do we call it? But geez. After all the allegations of racism, I was just like overwhelmed, and I was like, ugh. I was really excited about the Met Gala theme because I thought, because Black dandyism was the theme of the exhibit, and Black dandyism plays into Black music heavily, and that also plays into K-pop as well. I was like, oh, this will be a chance for K-pop to kind of break that stigma, or where people think that K-pop idols tend to be boring on the Met Gala carpet. But after all of that, I was just like, if they come and they're boring, I'm totally okay with it, because I know Anna Wintour approves everything, and so she wouldn't let anybody come wrong. But at the same time, I just don't want to risk it. My heart can't take it anymore. That's basically what my thoughts were at the time.
Teresa, did you have any kind of thoughts or maybe expectations before we actually got into it on the day?
I didn't have expectations. Much more, I think Joe kind of touched on this, which is when this theme was announced, there was a lot of, I would say it was a mix. It was like 50-50, where it was like exciting, awesome, overdue, time to have this as a theme. And then also like apprehension and worry about just people getting it awfully wrong, because historically, anytime the Met Gala theme has touched on anything remotely POC or ethnic, there are people that miss it on on just a baffling sort of way.
Yeah.
So I think given that sort of, and I say this specifically because if you think back to like 2015, when the Met Gala had the theme, forget what the official title of the exhibition was, because for people who don't know, the Met Gala theme is tied every year to a particular exhibition at the Costume Institute at the Met. So that year it was like China. I think it was China Through the Looking Glass or something like that.
Oh, okay.
This was the year that Rihanna wore that yellow, canary yellow gown that had like very, very long train on the stairs. And she had the red hair. It was so cute. She was one of the few people who actually got it right that year, because she used she wore something designed by a Chinese designer, but that was also the year that a lot of other celebrities had just so many different faux pas moments where, I think Emma Roberts, and these images have been scrubbed from the internet because I have tried looking for that. I think she posted on her Instagram stories that she had like chopsticks in her hair, and it was like, oh, you're not the right, because you could totally have a Chinese hairpin accessory, but and she just got like immediately like on Instagram and social media and Twitter was like, that's not happening. And then I think she like took it out before she got on the red carpet. So, fast forward 10 years and you have a lot of those type of moments sort of add up over the years, to the point where when this theme was announced, a lot of people, I think even celebrities and stylists were hesitant to be like, okay, we definitely don't want to veer into anything that might be remotely controversial or put us in the spotlight in such a negative way. That being said, I was kind of like excited and also just not. I was like,
that's fair.
Because I felt like, given that, I was worried that not people would get it wrong so much, but that they would play it too safe. And I feel like, having looked at the looks that finally did make it onto the red carpet, I think a lot of people did play it safe. And I think ultimately I was a little underwhelmed as like a fashion enthusiast. And I think a lot of the commentary, in terms of reactions to the final looks that were showcased by the guests, people, I saw people even saying like, is this like recession core hitting the red carpet? Because we saw a plethora of black and white and a lot of Tom Brown, which, yes, but like,
yeah.
Okay.
Like it was like, anybody who Tom Brown was going to dress, you won automatically, because top-notch tailoring is Tom Brown, right? But at the same time, when they announced that Black Dandyism was the theme, the thing that disappointed me was, so we all just decided to go with 18th, 19th, and early 20th century tailoring. For me, Black Dandyism has so many different decades that you can choose from. My favorite eras of Black Dandyism, the 30s and 40s, and the 1970s. And even then, like, the only person that really got out the box that impressed me was Zendaya with the Bianca Jagger wedding suit rerun. But the other thing that was disappointing, as Teresa said, Black Dandyism, as a black person, just to help you out, if you want to know what Black Dandyism looks like, Google Black Church Easter. Black Dandyism.
Like headpieces, like just.
I was looking for church hats. Debbie Allen was the only person that really had like a church hat type thing. Also, Black Dandyism, we're loud. We are a loud people, okay? Black fashion for the past 100 or so years is bright, colorful pastels.
That's right.
Any color, we will wear any color because it just sets off our skin tone so well. And even if you don't think so, we're going to rock it in a way confidently to make you believe it, right? So we're just doing muted jewel tones, black and white, silver gray.
Grays.
It was a lot of white. It was a lot of black, a lot of gray, and very muted tones. Hence the are we in recession core? Are we like, is this recession core that's happening? Even like the elite, the 1% of the 1%ers are heading in this direction. And yes, to the color, I had another friend of mine who's a journalist, and she also pointed out just the lack of color. Like, where is the canary yellow? Where are the vibrant, like, jewel tones? Where there were so few people who actually wore color, so that when you saw it, it almost looked like it was jarring to the mind, because it almost felt like, wait, are they not in theme? Like, I thought, like, because seeing everybody in such a muted color palette to me almost seemed like that was the theme. So then if you saw people who were wearing color, you were like, are they not on theme? But it's actually the other way around.
Yeah.
It was just, I was a little underwhelmed, generally speaking. And then if we get into the K-pop idols who were at the Met, woo, yeah,
right, which is even more disappointing, because you mentioned in your mini pod, Joe, about how the fact, like, we have seen like the influence of the Easter suit in K-pop for generations. Literally, like, you say Easter suit, one of the first things that I think of for me is shiny circa Dream Girl era with the everything, and then I actually have a picture of those suits at the bottom of the outline. Like, you see the color, you see patterns, you see all of these textures and things. Like, so we know K-pop idols can have done this before, or have paid homage to this before.
Yeah.
So it was as someone who doesn't know that much about fashion but knows about K-pop fashion, it was sad.
Yeah, and like, I was thinking more specifically in the first gen, because I think a lot of the first gen idols, because there were so many like fresh Korean Americans, a lot of them were getting their style influence from groups like Jodeci. And they were known for, like, they didn't wear suits all the time, but when they did, they would wear these like big boxy Stacey Adams Burlington Coat Factory suits, right? And G.O.D., H.O.T., Turbo, all of them wore these big ass Stacey Adams suits on their comebacks, right? So like there are pockets to pull from. Even ATs, actually, their last few comebacks I think have been Black Dandy influenced. They're very leaning more towards tailored tailored outfits. About,
like, ice on my teeth.
Ice on my teeth, yeah.
Where they look, that is definitely, thinking about that music video right now, and I know that the title track wasn't as well received, I think, as, a lot of maybe ATEEZ's company would have liked. But the music video was awesome, and part of it was that you got to see ATEEZ in these power suits that were oversized with the sharp shoulders, you know, and it was just like, it gave exquisite, like, mobster,
Yeah. And like, even in certain like subgenres of Black Dandyism, like, you've seen pockets of, actually, I think YG is Black Dandyism personified in K-pop. Because they hit like all the subgenres of Black Dandyism, in specifically like Big Bang and 2NE1. They're going to give you a tailored look. They would on some comebacks, and then they would give you like the Ghetto Fabulous looks, which I kind of consider a subheading of Black Dandyism. Specifically more with Big Bang though, because they would give you like a suit with a wild print and different colored cuffs and pocket squares and everything just loud and colorful. And I was just like, there's a treasure trove of stuff here now. The other thing is we didn't get a lot of idols this year. We only got 4. And that was...
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah,
because like over the years, we've definitely had an increase in the overall number of K-pop idol representation on the red carpet, generally speaking, not in the fashion world. So not just limited to the Met Gala. I've been on the pod before where, you know, we've talked about New York Fashion Week and Paris Fashion Week and all the other fashion weeks where we've seen idols at these, sitting front row with other celebrities and A-listers. And we've also seen an increase generally in the number of brand ambassadors. So we've had, Rosé is an ambassador for like YSL. NCT's Jennie with Peter, or I don't know if he's an ambassador for Peter Doe or if
I think he was just wearing Peter Doe that year.
Okay, got it.
I think SM signed a collaboration with Peter Doe because Gino walked in his show at New York Fashion Week.
Right.
Got it. And that was back in 2022. And I feel like in the last 3 to 4 years, ever since K-pop blew up in the Western market, you've seen that increase because a lot of these fashion houses, when they choose their brand ambassadors, they're really looking for people that they know are going to convert their fans into customers. Like that's really at the end of the day what it comes down to. And so many of these marketing teams, they operate in the world of impressions and social media currency and like who got the most retweets, who got the most reposts, like, who got the most likes on Instagram, that sort of, right? Over the past 5 years, the celebrities and influencers that have that kind of reach on social media are really K-pop and a lot of Asian influencers, especially from China too, not just Korea, but especially China. And luxury brands have really especially turned their eye toward the Asian markets when it comes to luxury retail and consumerism. So it makes sense from a business standpoint why we've seen that shift toward Asian influencers, and especially in the US and Western markets, K-pop has, been an easier, I think, like kind of crossover. I don't know if I'm explaining this in the best way, but a lot of these brands will maybe sign on Chinese influencers and celebrities, but those same Chinese influencers haven't crossed over into the Western market in the same way that K-pop has. So you then see Prada, you see Louis Vuitton, Tommy Hilfiger, brands like that reach out to K-pop because they have the Asian markets and they have the Western markets as well. And that's not to say that these Chinese influencers don't have, appeal. They have massive appeal. Like astronomically, like it dwarfs everyone else.
Shout out to Angela Baby.
Like you just can't compare. But in terms of why we've seen the rise and uptick in K-pop, that's partly why.
All right, so let's get into it. So especially speaking of the YG of it all, the K-pop of it all, let's talk about the 4 idols that actually attended. So we've mentioned earlier. So we got the Blackpinks. 3 members of Blackpink attended: Jennie, Rosé, and Lisa. And the only representing the male idols, S.Coups from 17, attended.
Which, listen, as a carrot, I love, because I love me some S.Coups, but it also seemed a little random.
Right?
Wow. Yeah. It seemed a little, it was like Blackpink from the get-go, they don't always, exactly who walks the Met Gala red carpet is kind of a surprise. Like, who is on the host committee and who are the likely brand ambassadors, the fashion designers are going to be there, etc. The fashion insiders, but who exactly walks is usually like a surprise. It's like everybody wanted Beyonce to to walk, and it's like we're not gonna get that.
Mother is on tour.
We're not, and she was in LA. As far as she has I saw her on Sunday, so she's here for another 2 shows later this week. So she definitely could have squeezed the Met Gala in between.
Nah, she was whipping her crew into shape after the night too. No, them people didn't leave till 6 a.m. They never left after the concert because Anyway.
Yeah, that's a side story. But point being that, there's always the people that you hope to see there, the people that will be there. And then there's the, whoa, didn't expect that. And I feel in terms of just, whoa, didn't expect that. It was S.Coups, because Blackpink, I was kind of like, we've seen Rosé, we've seen Jennie, we've seen Lisa, we've seen all of the girls walk the Met Gala. S.Coups from Stray Kids, I was like, oh, okay. And he did it well. So
I think the other thing is, as a fellow carrot, it was surprising because S.Coups is not the fashion boy of 17 right now. Yeah. That's Mingyu all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, but the fact that he did, that S.Coups showed up and showed out,
right,
was very, very appealing to see. So, do we want to get into the looks specifically?
Yeah, let's get into S.Coups. Yeah, so he was wearing Boss and very, very, very minimal. Yeah, so he was there with Boss, and also he was wearing a Piaget watch as his like only other accessory, except for of course his 17 ring.
I know. I see that. You see that picture where he's just he has his hand up on his I guess, are we calling it is it a robe or is it a cape that he has? No, it's a robe, right? That he has draped. It's a cape, right? And he kind of is just doing the watch pose as they always do.
Yeah.
He's holding on to it. But for people who don't know the look that we're talking about, he's in an all gray charcoal monochromatic look. Even his hair is gray. So it's a tailored suit, but you can see the Asian influences in the oh my god, help me out, Joe.
It's a hanbok. It's the hanbok suit jacket.
The
I love it.
That's what it's.
I think he looked fantastic.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, now looking at these pictures specifically, it's very much giving manhwa bad boy romantic lead,
right? Especially with the color, because that's what really just broke my brain when I saw him there, because of that hair color specifically. It's really just you just picked S.Coups up and dropped him off at the Met Gala.
Well, I love that you said like manhwa, because my thought went to like, is this what is that anime with the fox? Oh my god, we're gonna have to edit this. I'm sorry, P.D. The name will come back to me.
Okay.
Tomoe. It'll come back to me.
Fruits Basket. No, is it Fruits Basket?
No, that's it'll come back to me. Anyways, I agree with you, Joe. It looks like he came from like some anime or a manhwa, and he's a fictional fantasy character. And also the hair color. We were talking about the lack of color on the red carpet. He's doing it in a monochromatic look, but because he has the silver colored hair, it screams K-pop. Like, we are so used to seeing, all sorts of different hair colors on K-pop idols all the time, that I feel like I saw this and I was kind of like, oh yeah, that's S.Coups. But then I thought about it. I was like, oh, at the Met Gala, like nobody else is like dyeing their hair to like to match the outfit, or like vice versa, picking an outfit that matches the hair. And I feel like that little tiny element is just so K-pop, where we're so used to just like the hair is an accessory, is part of the whole head to toe look. Yeah, I loved it.
Kuni-sama Kiss?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. S.Coups to me just looked like he was, the guy Tomoe from Kami-sama Kiss, where he's like, he's been living for a few centuries, and he just came down and joined us for a minute.
Like he's an immortal and you say, I just
yes,
want to pop
he's an immortal.
I'm a Korean immortal. I just want to pop over to New York to see what the peasants are up to. Because, like, I don't need this earthly whatever this is, but adore me anyway.
I'm also really happy. The last thing I'll say about S.Coups and this particular look is that I was watching a few other reactions from other fashion insiders, people who just are not in the K-pop world. Mm-hmm. And they liked his look. Like, he is, you know, one of the few people that they may not have known who he was. They may have just seen him and been like, K-pop. Right. Mm-hmm. But they saw him and they were like, oh, he nailed, like, the theme. And I think that's really hard. Like, that's just an accomplishment that I want to applaud S.Coups and the team and everyone involved, because the theme of this year was, yes, it was dandyism, but it was also tailored to you. Mm-hmm. So it was all about something being custom. And it just warms my heart also as a carrot because, you know, 17 started out and back when they had to make their own music video for debut. And it's like, oh, here they are now where they have something custom made for them.
I think then we'll moving up the list then to somebody who also made headlines for herself, but not necessarily for good reasons, or at least for what I've seen. Though we can get into it. We're talking about Lisa. Yeah, so she of course was there with Louis Vuitton, and the jewelry I can't print. What's it? How do you
Bulgari?
Bulgari.
Bulgari.
Bulgari. The Bulgari necklace, and then Louis Vuitton. It's what is it? It's like a skimpy lace.
Yeah, I can describe it.
Blazer, right? Sorry,
Lisa. If you have not seen Lisa's outfit from the Met Gala 2025, she is not wearing pants. She is wearing it looks from afar almost like it's a bodysuit, which it may be, but really what it looks like is it might be a bodysuit with a black jacket that has all sorts of crystal embellishments on it, and then she's wearing sheer tights, black tights that have the LV logo mm-hmm. on them. Mm-hmm. And I will say, I mean, this is definitely a memorable look, but I'm curious, and I have a lot to say about it, but I'm curious to hear what your reactions were to seeing Lisa wear this at the Met. Because has she been at the Met before? I know I mentioned earlier that we've seen the other.
This was her first.
But this is her first.
This is her, and like if it's gonna be your first, make it memorable. And baby, did she do that? I'm trying to figure out.
I'm sorry.
Which of the alter egos this is? Because on the one hand,
you're right. Which
one
hand, is this?
because
this is not what we.
Like, if it wasn't, there's always one or two people that don't even really, I don't want to say it like this, but don't even try to hit the theme. This mm-hmm. does technically hit the theme,
That's
but
fair.
it also misses it. Like, if this was anywhere else, like, if she did this at, like, the VMAs, I would love the hell out of this look. Because the look on its own, outside of the Met Gala, this is... It got us talking. It caught us by surprise. However, it's like the issues come up if it's just like a plain lace blazer, it will be fine. The issue is when we go into the detail of the blazer and the bodysuit.
Yes, because from afar, since she only has the jacket, it just basically looks like it's her panties, or it may be a bodysuit. But if you zoom in, and you can see that there's actually a print on, I think it's the jacket and the bodysuit, and it's lace. Mm-hmm. And that print is what got people definitely talking, and not in a good way. So it features, I know people, I saw the Cut article, Joe, about like, is that Rosa Parks, I think it's the headline, is that Rosa Parks on Lisa's panties? Like,
listen,
crotch? Like, what's going on there?
If I remember correctly, the designer,
Henry Taylor.
Sorry,
it's part of a collaboration between the artist Henry Taylor and Pharrell, which was part of his like Paris show, I think, back last year or earlier this year, where Henry Taylor specifically incorporated a lot of like important portraits of important figures in his life. Various people have come up like as has been interpreted like, oh, like a Barack Obama, Rosa Parks, his parents, and just the fact that we know that those people are on her panties has gotten a lot of people pressed that it's a bit disrespectful for them to be in those areas.
Not only is it like disrespectful once we got into the detail of it, but there's also the other issue that we're going to have, which is if you don't know who Lisa is now, you're going to find out what happened with Lisa and the rest of her bandmates 3 weeks ago. So that's going to make this even more of an issue.
Talking about the YG leak, right?
Yeah. I called it Armageddon for a reason.
That's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that. And I think you raise a good issue, which is that sometimes we're so in the K-pop world that we forget how outside of it, when we have K-pop permeating the broader mainstream culture, you have these moments where it's like, this was like your opportunity to like really expand, your profile in a very, very big way. And you did that. But now as a K-pop stan, we're going to get the questions from like non-K-pop stans about like, what was up with that? Like, what happened there? And then it's like, oh, yeah, let me explain.
And also,
do I even want to?
You're right. And also,
like, do I want to get into it?
In terms of Lisa, this is basically, I don't want to see her. We've had shot girlies in pop music for years, right? Decades even. Part of me, like Lisa was the member of Blackpink that I was expecting to not be the shot girly, but at this point there have been like with this whole rollout, it's like, so is she trying to be the shot girly of Blackpink?
I will say, from a style perspective, I was going to say of the three girls. Sorry, Jisoo.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, she had a scheduling conflict.
Yeah,
she couldn't.
But of the three girls that have Jennie, Lisa, Rosé, who have been very, 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 very active in the Western market in terms of promotion and in the fashion circuit, even though Jisoo definitely has her Dior connection as a brand ambassador there. So shout out to her because she definitely fits the Dior lady look to a T. These three, generally, I feel like play it safe. Like, Rosé, we'll get into Rosé and Jennie's looks, but of the three, I feel like they generally play it safe. Lisa, lately, you're right, with her rollout for her, what is it, egos, personas?
Alter Ego is the album.
And then her debut as an actress on White Lotus.
Yeah.
Yes, she's definitely been doing a lot more to grow her profile. And her public persona, but it's just been one of the criticisms that I have heard from K-pop stans and non-K-pop stans alike is that they are having a really hard time pinning her down. And I don't think that this particular look for her, even though she looks fantastic, like Joe said, as just a standalone look outside of this context, I don't think this helps her.
Yeah, so for somebody who's had multiple chances on the Met Gala stage to come correct, what do we think of Jennie again wearing her Chanel?
So for people who didn't see Jennie's look on the Met Gala red carpet this year, she opted for a black dress that had an off-the-shoulder neckline. It had the white lapels peeking through and this like really nicely tailored bodice that had like classic Chanel pearls dangling. And then it had this really beautiful, skirt dress that opened in the middle. And then you had her wearing like these black satin pump stilettos. So it was kind of this like, and before I forget, she also had a wonderful hat, which we mentioned this at the top of the show, but just like hat, headgear, accessories, like it was really nice to see. I thought it was a beautiful look, but I'm curious to hear what you all thought?
It continues it continues what I've been thinking about Jennie at Chanel for the past few years, which is where you'll see some of the ambassadors currently in past years where you would see them and you're just like, oh, Rihanna or Cara Delevingne is wearing Chanel. This is versus, ooh, Jennie wearing Chanel. It's like Jennie wearing Chanel, lowercase. Because it's basically...
It's expected.
Every time I've seen Jennie wear Chanel, it has not really been Jennie wearing Chanel, not like Jennie styling Chanel to her own personal taste.
Oh, okay.
And I think this one is, I won't say the worst. It's a really great 1950s tailored look. However, like with everything else, it's basically Jennie wearing the various codes of the house. You got the Coco Chanel hat. You got the pearls dangling off the bodice, the flower, the camellia brooch with the black bow, and the tailoring, which are all those who study Chanel and fashion. You understand, like, for the last 30 some odd years, Karl Lagerfeld banged these codes of Chanel into our heads. So I'm seeing all of those right now, but I'm not necessarily seeing. I'm seeing Jennie kind of be a mannequin for Chanel versus Jennie being an ambassador for Chanel.
But definitely so much better than previous years. Just
yes,
on top, because again, with her debut year, with her wearing that vintage Chanel mini dress, and the fact that she was going to the Met Gala wearing a dress she'd already worn before, that I just remember just how disappointing that was at that moment. And then the next year, where she finally wears some color. She wears this blue wrap dress, right? But again, it's like nothing about it that really made it, like you said, Joe, like a moment for her. So this again, even though technically, right, it's just hitting all the notes that we expect from Chanel. I'm happy she's finally getting something closer to what I expect of like a Met Gala.
Yeah,
like, this should have been her debut.
Yes.
Dress.
I do think that context for Jennie over these last years at the Met is important, because you're right, of the looks that she has given us, like, this is the one that's doing the most.
Yeah.
But I see your point, Joe, that she's very much in the mannequin role, a very beautiful mannequin, and everything is very nicely tailored, and definitely on theme, but it's not something where it screams like fashion icon.
Yeah. Although one could also say that that's probably why the fashion houses like K-pop, because they can just, most of the K-pop fashion collaborations I've seen has been just the idols just wearing straight off the runway, no personal styling, not much personal styling whatsoever.
That is a hot take. But no, I think that's a hot take, and I wouldn't say that I necessarily disagree. I think that there's probably some real truth to that statement, because now that you say that, I'm thinking about, I've thought about this in the past, just outside of the Met, as we've seen more K-pop idols become brand ambassadors for these luxury brands. I've thought about how some idols don't fit the image and of the brand that there's, I don't want to start any fan wars, but
right.
There have been some idols that have been signed on as brand representatives, and I have thought to myself, I don't buy it. I don't buy that this idol would actually wear, I'm not going to say the designer's name, this jacket from this designer, because I just don't think that is, they carry the swagger that's like associated with the house, which I think is why Jisoo, even though we didn't see her at this year's Met, I think she's one of the few K-pop idols that really does fit the image of the house. Like Lady Dior, like Jisoo is that.
Yeah.
Like, that is her. That's her persona as a K-pop queen, and idol. I think Jennie, likewise, I think she is of the black. I think actually all the Blackpink girlies
fit their various
like house and brand ambassadorships much better than a lot of other idols, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of the reason why, you know, Jennie and Chanel, even though her other looks have generally not been, or have been a little underwhelming, I do think that she fits Chanel very well, because outside of K-pop, baby, like Chanel on the red carpet is
actually,
like really
like,
bad.
I would say
for some other artist out there.
Where Chanel and Jennie work together the best is Fashion Week. Anytime she's sitting on those runway, her outfits are perfect. It's just these particular instances where I'm just not seeing the vision.
Yes. Yeah, but otherwise, a great look.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Talking about seeing the vision, let's wrap it up and talk about Rosé. So she's wearing Saint Laurent and Tiffany Co. And she specifically in her get ready for the Met Gala video talked about how this look was specifically inspired by Andre Leon Talley. And so I'm curious, Joe, how you think this look, if at all, plays on this inspiration.
Yeah.
Just really quickly, for if you haven't seen Rosé's look, she didn't do anything crazy to her hair. She has the bleach blonde, and it's almost it's not an updo. She has it down, and then she's wearing an
like
all black suit and pants with these very voluminous sleeves, let's say. Right? No, it's a cape.
It's a cape. She's just wearing it off the
shoulder.
Got it. So she has the suit with the really sharp shoulders, and then she has the cape, but it's draped around her arms. And then she has obviously the very Tiffany Co. Pendant necklace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually do like this look. One, Andre Leon Talley is like one of my North Stars when it comes to style. I don't claim to have much, but what I do know, I learned from him, right? Also, one of my favorite fashion pictures of all time is the smoking jacket from sometime in the 1970s, where I forget the model, but it's like a model in the dark streets of Paris in a jacket, in a suit jacket, kind of styled like this, that was designed by Yves Saint Laurent. So I like that callback as well. If you wanted to give more Andre Leon Talley, though, I would have put the cape on, because Andre Leon Talley loved a voluminous puffed cape moment, right? That's kind of how you knew he was coming in the room. So Andre Leon Talley was I don't even want to say an icon. Like, I think icon, even though that's a word that we use a lot, I think that word, when we use it for grandiose things, I think that diminishes all that Andre Leon Talley was. Mm-hmm. He's one of the two right hand. He was one of the two right hands of Anna Wintour. He was also one of the key innovators in getting more black models and black designners into the mainstream eye of America. Like, one of the way I learned who Andre Leon Talley was through the Ebony Fashion Fair. They were these series of fashion shows that Ebony magazine would put on starting in the 50s and 60s, because Mrs. Eunice Johnson, the wife of John Johnson, the publisher, wanted black Americans to have access to fashion. At this time in the 50s and 60s, prior to the Battle of Versailles, like, there were black models, but they weren't working in the United States. Most of them were working in Europe. So Ebony Fashion Fair was a way for all these models to come and model in the United States. And Andre Leon Talley kind of helped. It's like him, Pat Cleveland, Beth Ann Hardison are some key names that kind of grew out of this era of forging a Black fashion identity in the United States in the late 20th century. I could go on for a night and day. I'm just gonna, yeah.
If you're listening and you or watching and you don't know who he was, definitely do a Google deep dive. There's so much information about him out there, and it's a treat.
Yeah.
To dive into his life and influence in fashion, and I think in just via fashion, the broader pop culture and mainstream. I will say, like, having now us talked about the Blackpink girlies and who kind of owns the look more, I would say out of all of them, I think Rosé has done a pretty good job here of really looking like she's wearing the clothes aren't wearing her.
Yep.
I agree with you. I would have loved to have seen at least a photo or two. Maybe they exist out there. We don't have it here, of her wearing the cape. But I think she's, her being over at YSL, I think is a very synergistic match. Because, for better, for worse, YSL has historically had very, very slender models, and has always loved a very minimalist look. And I think out of all of the Blackpink girlies, like, Rosé naturally has veered toward that sort of aesthetic and look. So when she wears something like this, even though it's a little bit, it has those tweaks, it feels like just that. It's like what she normally would wear, but like, let's amp it up a bit for the red carpet. Also, one other thing I will say, Andre Leon Talley was a giant in stature, personality. Yes. So I just Googled it. I hope this is right. That he was 6'6", which sounds right. That sounds about right. Yeah. So he really was statuesque and very, very tall. So when he wore that cape, it just, because of his size, naturally added that much more flair and drama. So for people who were watching the Met this year, if you saw a lot of capes, this is kind of the connection to make.
Yeah, I think of the three of Blackpink members, Rosé was definitely the one who I was most excited to see. In comparison to the moves that Jennie and Lisa have been making, like, she, had a really big hit with Opposite last year. But when it comes to kind of the rollout after that, we didn't really get much other than, we finally got the full album. But, she didn't go to Coachella. She wasn't, debuting in any TV shows or any other live performances. So I felt like for her, especially when it comes to the rollout of her debut on the world stage, and specifically for like Western audiences, this night for her felt more important.
It's such a, I really love Lisa, and I think that sometimes she gets a lot of unfair criticism. But I think I was particularly let down by her look for all of the reasons that we've already talked about, with just like the lace and whatnot. But also part of it, from her perspective, I imagine she's checking off all the boxes that she needs to. So she's worked, like, some of this I'm like, okay, Lisa, like, come on. And then another part of me is like, wait, come on, Louis Vuitton. Come on, Pharrell.
Right.
Like, what's going on? Pharrell, I put a lot of and not just Lisa, but a lot of the misses of the night at the Met on Pharrell and Louis Vuitton. Because I don't know if you guys saw the brief clip where Sabrina Carpenter did also not wear pants. And she literally says that Pharrell told her, "You're too short, you're not going to wear pants." In which there's something there to me that is just like, really, like, for a theme where the whole idea is tailored to you, custom. You look at Sabrina Carpenter, you're like, you're too short, you're gonna look cute and sexy, like, without pants, which is granted the look that she's been sporting as Sabrina Carpenter the artist. But for the Met, I was kind of like, okay, what happened there? But Pharrell did it again. His wife was also wearing a bodysuit with just like the lace tights or I forget if it was lace tights, but she's also not wearing pants.
Yeah.
And then we have Lisa over here not wearing pants. And it just, there's something there, which I don't want to get to, like, I'm going to blame Pharrell and I'm going to blame the other stylists. And I feel like Lisa's doing what she should be doing, which is, she's partnering with these houses and the people who, quote unquote, should know better.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't hate the girl for that.
Right. So did we want to summarize between our 4 idols that attended the Met, who was our favorite of the night?
I mean, is it not clearly S.Coups? I mean,
right.
I feel from our conversation, right? Or am I Joe? Do you have a different opinion?
No, I was just kind of gonna explain a little bit more, because like one of the things that we've been talking about, or Vogue has been talking about, in terms of Black Dandyism, is like the element of how Black Americans, both in North and South America and in the Caribbean, would like the key facet of Black Dandyism is taking a European silhouette in a suit and adding in cultural, adding in bits and pieces of their own culture. So like adding in like an African print or a Caribbean print. And I think with S.Coups, they took a basic suit and turned it into a hanbok inspired outfit, and like I think that really ties back into the theme of bringing your culture to this Western outfit very well.
I think that's a really good point. And in that, utilizing that framework and reference, I think we have to give it to S.Coups. Like the man, he fulfilled he did the assignment. He fulfilled it. Right. And he did it very well. He looks fantastic. It made your comments right now made me think about Bad Bunny also on the red carpet, and how he also donned a traditional Puerto Rican pava hat. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And he had the bowling bag, which is, and the shoes, and it's just like the little details, which again, in combination with the suit, made it, okay, this is my interpretation of Black Dandyism, and I'm making it my own. And we see that clearly with S.Coups' look here, which we didn't really quite see with the other girls.
Yeah. No, you're right. It is a look. It's a look.
It is a look. Lewk.
Yeah.
All right.
It's like I guess I also clearly am giving my award to S.Coups for the night. But yeah, so that kind of wraps up our list of idols that attended. There was only 4. So I think we got to wrap up the conversation with why do we think there was only 4 idols this year?
I will say that I was very surprised. I was actually expecting a lot more K-pop idols to hit the red carpet, just because of what we've already talked about, like the increased relevance of K-pop in fashion. So I was a little disappointed that, I didn't see more, but I've been thinking about it. And one, we had Stray Kids last year with Tommy Hilfiger, because they're brand ambassadors, and they actually were among the most talked about Met Gala carpet looks, out of all guests on social media, because obviously it's Stray Kids and the fandom went wild, and you had all the boys there and they all were wearing the lovely, tailored suit jackets from Tommy. But they're also on tour.
Yeah.
And I was thinking just about how this year is going to be a very interesting year for K-pop and artists at large, but especially international and global acts, as we see just what happens with like these acts and whether or not they're able to make it financially feasible and worthwhile for them to be touring on as large a scale as they have been in previous years because of the economy at all.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of I'm a little nervous as to what's to come and what that means for K-pop in the near future. Are we going to see just less K-pop acts coming stateside in the second half of the year, and maybe even thereafter?
Yeah, I basically agree with what Teresa said. I mean, coming from my initial background in journalism was I was going into political journalism, and just seeing the way that this year's kind of played out, I've been nervous. I mean, and we already kind of I posted it in the K-drama tab, but about the 100% tariffs on foreign films, like how that's potentially going to affect the K-drama and K-film and international film market, as well as the home market. It's looking kind of rough in the near future, but
yeah, it's expensive. At the end of the day, this is all very, very expensive. And the Met, for people who don't follow the fashion circuit and the Met, very closely, because the Met is its own spectacle.
Yeah.
It's like it's like the Super Bowl for fashion. It is just astronomically expensive to attend the Met. Just, you have to, first and foremost, it is, like P.D.N.M. said, a fundraiser. It's, $25,000 a pop. I forget how much, I don't know if that's the table or per person. I think it's per person.
I think it was 25 grand a plate. I remember.
I think it's 25 grand. Per person. A table, like, usually what will happen is a fashion house will buy a table, and then they will invite the celebrities to their table and then dress them. There have been articles out about just how even getting dressed for the Met Gala can cost up almost six figures. It is, this is not by any means economical. It is very much a fantasy. So in that respect, completely understandable. My prediction is, if I were to make one, is that in the near future, we still will see a greater intersection between fashion and K-pop, but we will see these artists and K-pop idols in Europe. And I started thinking about this, with Baekhyun announcing, one of my alt biases, when he announced his global tour, and so many stops in Europe.
Okay,
It's definitely a global tour, but so many different European cities and Latin America. And I think we might start seeing more of that, where we have these idols hitting not just New York Fashion Week, but maybe they're going to Milan, which I think we've seen before. Don't quote me on that.
Son from ATEEZ went to Milan.
Yes, I think he went to Milan.
Him and his shoulders did, yes.
Yeah, they did.
So maybe we'll see more of that. Maybe it's less New York Fashion Week. Maybe it's more Paris and Milan. And we'll start seeing more of that.
Well, I think that's a good wrap up. I think we have a lot to maybe look forward to in the future or let's see if any of these predictions actually come true. I though am a little, as just a K-pop fan, I know I had my little list of like my artists that I was hoping to check off. I was like, oh, CL is definitely going to be there. Oh, maybe G-Dragon. They're already in town for Head in the Clouds, It was just that, and then maybe in an alternate universe we actually had New Jeans or at least Hani show up, and as just a K-pop fan, it feels like just such a shame, because one, getting to see K-pop artists on this kind of fashion stage is like such an amazing thing, or it could be such an amazing thing. So the fact that the turnout was so low this year has me like, okay, maybe not the Met Gala, but like you said, all these other fashion weeks, especially in Europe, maybe I can put my hopes into those baskets from now on.
And I mean, knock on wood, they might be showing up at Shanghai Fashion Week in the future.
Oh, yeah, there we go. All right, so I think that wraps it up for this discussion, guys. I don't know, did we have any other thoughts or feelings that we wanted to share before we say goodbye?
Just make sure, I guess this leads back into the discussions we've been having, but in terms of music and style, like, there is a treasure trove of information and innovation in Black culture around the world. And like, if you study us, you will find something, and like, you'll be able to connect it to K-pop as well as a host of other things. I forgot the name of the book. I think the book is called Slaves to Fashion by Dr. Monique Miller, which is the book that this exhibit is based off of. I would look into that. If you don't have the dough for that one, Vogue and plenty of fashion creators in the past few days have made a lot of informative videos. Drew Joyner made a good one. Also, I'm kind of sad at Vogue for not inviting Wisdom K. But anyway.
Teresa?
I look forward to seeing more future red carpet looks from the girlies, from the Blackpink girlies, and hopefully more from 17, because it can't just be S.Coups. But, you know, Joe said Mingyu's so far been like the fashion guy in the group. Would love the 8 to hit the red carpet.
I'm waiting on Hoshi.
Give me more of the 17 members. I think they all have such distinct personalities and personal style.
Yeah.
That it would be really fun to see.
Okay. All right. So wrapping it up, guys, let our listeners know where they can find you on socials. Teresa?
Cool. Yeah, you can always find me at on Instagram at IKPTPOD. So that's our Instagram handle for the podcast. It's a K-pop thing, which I co-host with Alexis.
You can find me at Journalistic Joe on Instagram and Threads, as well as in the K-pop cast Slack, where, as Michaela said, I'll do like a mini pod now, is what she's calling them. That's not that was not the intention, but yep.
Oh no. Sorry. But yeah, and then you can find me and the K-pop cast Slack at PDNIM, and of course you can find all of us on the K-pop cast Slack. And also, if you want to support the show, guys, please consider donating to our Ko-fi. Yeah, so I guess that wraps it up. Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Bye.